All right, welcome back. If you can't laugh, but we have to at least, because this is the next story. It's a great example of public policy run amok, right? It gives new meaning to the word or words truck stop, right? Our next guest owns a home here in Nashville. And a few days ago, a pickup truck driven by an illegal immigrant at high speed lost control and literally crashed into her house. Now, luckily, she was not at home at the time, but the impact severely damaged the home. Look at that. Boy, oh boy. And now she's left to fix her home and deal with the insurance companies and appropriate authorities. There were two people in the truck, I believe, one of which tried to flee but was apprehended. So there's a lot more to this story than meets the eye. Let's bring on our next guest for a play-by-play update. Please welcome to the show Dr. Carol Swain. Dr. Swain, what a shock. Those pictures are graphic. I mean, that must have been a big surprise, and I'm glad that you weren't there at the time because somebody really could have gotten hurt.
Well, it was not the home that I reside in. My son lives there. It's the second home that I own in Nashville. He was at home, and he had gotten up and moved out of the living room to go to one of the back bedrooms when the truck hit. And it was two Hondurans. A woman was driving the truck, and the male was instructing her on how to drive. Neither one had insurance or a driver's license. And so my insurance company, they've been very nice. I'm sure they cover the damages, but they will probably drop me after this claim is over.
I mean, and that's the knock-on effect of some of these bad decisions that people have made over the last 5 or 6 years. I mean, you're a classic example. I've seen it happen and heard about it happening to others. So these people have no insurance. They don't have any driver's licenses. There's no real recourse for you because they don't have anything. And so now you're stuck holding the bag. You may be dropped by your insurance. I mean, you're the one that pays the price for their malfeasance, and it's not fair.
I know. And my son said he almost had a heart attack when the truck hit. But his neighbors were wonderful. They immediately came and they prevented the woman from fleeing the site because she was going to try to flee the site. And then my son's camera showed it looked as if the man and the woman were trying to switch spots. Like she was driving, but they were trying to switch spots. But all of that was caught, and those neighbors stayed with him. I was out of town for my sister's funeral. That was the last thing I needed was the double whammy. And we're dealing with engineers and probably he'll be out of the house for about 6 months.
Well, I mean, it's just amazing to me. And this is a great example of the knock-on effects from bad decisions. Everybody understands that America is a melting pot, and we can use some great labor and people here that can come into the country and actually start to contribute. But more and more reports are that that's not actually the case with this new crop of people that have come over after the last 4 or 5 years. They haven't been contributing as much as we've seen immigrants do in the past. A lot of them haven't assimilated or even learned the language, and now these things are all coming home to roost. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and there's a organization, the Federation for Immigration Reform. They estimate that illegal immigration costs our nation $150 billion a year when you factor in education, healthcare, property damage, and just all the different ripple effects. We are all paying through the nose. And those two Hondurans that were arrested by the Nashville PD, I would imagine that they were released by a judge within 30 minutes of appearing before that judge. And I don't have any further information, but I do know that we are sort of in Nashville, a sanctuary city, and the native Nashvillians and the legal immigrants and the law-abiding people, we are the ones that pay the cost. And it is a high cost. It's $1 billion cost for our nation.
It should surprise me, but it doesn't surprise me because I'm from Chicago. I've seen what the illegal immigration to that sanctuary city has done. All of the taxpayers' money has gone straight. I say this story all the time about when I went to London. I lived there for 16 years, and when I got my passport stamped, the gentleman at the passport control said, we need you to register with the local police department when you finally find permanent residency. And I said, okay. And he said, do you know why I asked that question? I was a 23-year-old kid at the time. I didn't know what I was doing. But he told me, we don't want anybody coming into this country taking out of a pot that they didn't put anything into. And it's almost like a bad thing to say nowadays. That's exactly what's happening now. These people are coming to our country and taking out of a pot they didn't put a cent into. And that's just not right.
It's not right because a lot of times they get more assistance from state and local government than Americans, than people that have paid taxes for years. And it's just a terrible, terrible situation. And the consequences to them of the property damage, and even the loss of lives when people drive drunk and they kill other people, it's not as great enough to be the deterrence that it should be. And I want to repeat that number again, that the Federation for Immigration Reform, they have data that shows that it's costing our nation $150 billion a year. And for my claim, maybe it'll be $200 and some thousand for that house and what has to be redone. But just multiply that across America, and then you see where you get the $1 billion cost.
I mean, it's ridiculous, and the knock-on effects from that public policy we had for the last 4 years, from 2020 to 2024, we'll be feeling that in this country for a long, long time to come. I don't think it's going to end anytime soon. Dr. Swain, thank you very much for coming on. I'm so sorry to hear about your house and your sister. Thank you very much for taking the time to be with us here today, though. Hopefully things turn around at the home as quickly as possible, and we're glad that your son wasn't hurt either. Thank you very much for being on the show. Dr. Carol Swain coming to us from Brentwood, Tennessee. All right, let's dial up